All right, welcome back to the page. Back for another one. Appreciate you guys coming to check out the videos. I hope I bring some insight to people, maybe for a casual boxing fan that doesn't read too much into this shit, and just would like some tips or advice, or even just to see how the fight's gonna go, or maybe more of a hardcore fan that didn't think of some of the things that maybe I address in the video or whatever. So today I want to talk about the Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight, and I'll tell you, first and foremost, in this household, this is going to be a great one because my youngest daughter, Lily, Tank Davis is her favorite fighter. He has been for like over a year now. She's only 6 years old. And my oldest daughter, Amy, Ryan Garcia has been her favorite fighter probably like half her life, for like 4 years now or so. So my youngest daughter's favorite fighter and my oldest daughter's favorite fighter are fighting each other. So needless to say, it's going to be a fun one in the Formzy household. But as far as what I think about this fight and how this fight is going to go, I've watched some things on it. I haven't, the fight is still a couple of weeks out and stuff like this. So I haven't seen everything that I'm going to see before the fight starts, and I've talked about this on plenty of other videos. Sometimes I'll change my pick at the weigh-in depending on how the guy looks, maybe physically or, the look in his face or the energy that he's showing or whatever like that. So I like to get the videos out early enough that people have time to watch them before the fight actually happens, but at the same time, keep in mind that does mean that over the course of the next couple of weeks, my opinion on what's going to happen could possibly change. It typically doesn't do like a 180 or anything like that, but it is possible. So if you look at who has what advantage, right? I mean, certain things are obvious right off the bat. Even though Garcia doesn't seem... It's weird because when they stand face-to-face, we all know Garcia is the taller fighter, right? When they stand face-to-face and you see their faces, it don't really look that bad. And the reason why, honestly, if you really look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. When you look at their shoulders, Ryan Garcia's shoulders are way higher than Tank's shoulders. So his frame and the height that his body is, his legs, his torso, things like that, are way bigger than Tank Davis to basically to the point of what I originally thought it was. But when you look at their heads and where their eyes are and their faces and stuff like that, there's not that much of a difference there. And the reason for that, I'm not even trying to be funny, I'm being honest. Look at a picture of them facing off. Ryan's head is much smaller than Tank's head. So Ryan's shoulders are right here, but Ryan's head ends right here. Tank's shoulders are down here, but his head only ends right here. So, when it comes to where their eyes and shit are, there's not really like a 4-inch gap there. But if you look at their shoulders and the size of their body, you can definitely see the size difference. So, I think when you want to look at what Ryan brings to the table, you got the height, you got the reach. You could probably even get away with saying that Ryan's hands are a little bit faster. Now, I do agree with something that Tank said. When Ryan hits bags and stuff like that, his hands look a lot faster than they actually do in the ring. And I mean, this is with anything, bro. If you've trained in boxing, you'll understand this. Just because I know they always say what you do in the gym translates, it's what you're going to do in the ring. But it's not quite that simple. That's more of a muscle memory type of thing. That's more of when you're losing your ability to think clearly because there's pressure or you're hurt or you're tired. Yes, your muscle memory is going to revert back to things that you're doing repetitively in the gym and stuff like that. But when we're talking about how quick you're throwing your punches, how hard you're throwing your punches, or how accurate your punches are, or what combinations you're throwing and all that type of stuff, it's a lot easier to look better, bro, when you're throwing them on a bag or whatever, and nobody's swinging back at you or whatever the case is. So, yeah, I think you could make a case that Ryan's hands might be faster, but again, in the ring, I'm not sure if that really translates completely to being that simple. On top of that, I don't know that I would just overall say that Ryan is faster. When we're talking about the speed, or when I'm talking about the speed here, I'm strictly talking about Ryan's hand speed and his punch speed. I do think that you could make an argument that he has that over Tank. Overall speed, foot speed, and all, things like that, that's probably a different story in my opinion. As far as the mental aspect of this fight, I think Tank is a little more proven. I know that Garcia did get up off the floor against Campbell and, wound up winning that fight, I believe, by stoppage. So I think that he showed some guts there where people question his heart and his ability to go on. Now, the thing we don't know how deep that runs. Yeah, he got knocked down. Yeah, he got up. Sorry, I had a low battery interference there. Yeah, he got knocked down. Yeah, he got up. Yeah, he won the fight. Things like that. But again, it wasn't from a devastating knockout puncher. It wasn't a scenario where, you kept getting dropped or kept repeatedly getting hurt. And even though it looked to everybody else like there was no way you were going to win the fight, you hung in there and gutted it out. He really hasn't been in a war like that. I'm not saying that, Tank has been in a fucking Ron Lyle versus George Foreman type of fight where every round the other person is getting dropped 1 or 2 times and then getting up and dropping the other person. I'm not trying to make it sound like that, but I do think that Tank is a little bit more tested and a little bit more proven as far as being in rough positions where maybe he's down on the cards or he's running out of rounds, and he finds a way to gut it out and to usually stop these fights late and solidify the win. So I think the general consensus is that when you talk about where they're willing to go mentally and their heart and stuff, I think the general consensus is that Tank probably has the upper hand there. But I do want to point out a couple of things about Ryan that I've been noticing recently that I really think are important to point out here. And there's actually 2 things that I'm going to point out for Ryan Garcia that I think are probably going to impact this fight. One is negative, one is positive. When Ryan Garcia had the scenario a couple of years back with, the mental health issues and he took a little bit of a break or a layoff from boxing or whatever, it threw a question mark in there right away. It was like, yo, does he not want to fight? Is he scared? Does he not want to mess his pretty face up or something? Did he get chin checked and he just doesn't really... I mean, we've seen this with Victor Ortiz, right? He got in one tough fight with Marcos Maidana, and in his post-fight interview, he's like, man, I don't know if I want to be doing this. My face is messed up. Bro, what are you saying? You didn't know your face was going to get messed up when you got into boxing? I know emotions are high and shit like that, but Victor Ortiz is a quitter. Victor Ortiz has quit in multiple fights. Victor Ortiz has quit at the end of fights that he was winning. I don't want to go off on a tangent about Victor Ortiz, but I'm just trying to make a point that when somebody does something like that, it's, oh shit, it's a red flag. Whoa, okay, maybe he really ain't built for this. He ain't, which is something that Tank keeps saying. He ain't built like that. Now, I want to point out what has happened since then. Since then, he has gotten back in the ring. He has looked good and gotten wins. Even more important than that, in my opinion, is the energy that he's put out in this fight. Now, first of all, when somebody's having a mental health issue, they're having a mental health issue. So whether they make that public or not, if he doesn't make that public, you may not know the red flag is there, but the red flag is still there because he's having a mental issue, right? I mean, that's the point we're trying to make. So I think the fact that Ryan was public about it and honest about it and took his break and now came back seemingly the right way, looking like he needed that break and it did him good mentally and he readjusted and refocused and he's back to where he should be mentally. I think it's a sign of how strong this kid is mentally, because anybody could suffer with mental health issues. That doesn't mean you're weak mentally. He didn't quit. You know what I'm saying? He just said, yo, I got to take a break and get my shit straightened out and I'll be back. And that's exactly what he seems to have done. Gotten his shit straightened out and come back. So I give him credit for not only being transparent and honest about what was going on, but for coming back from it the right way and not just sailing off into the sunset and saying, hey, I had all intentions of coming back, but, my mind frame is just not working for me right now and I'm going to have to step away. Also, I think a lot of the things that he's been doing and saying in these press conferences and stuff, I'm really impressed with the way that he's carrying himself. He seems very cerebral and thought out. He seems very in control of his emotions, which is surprising coming from somebody that was just suffering with mental health issues, seems to be doing and saying all the right things. And now I'm going to lead into the second part of what I think may affect this fight. And this is probably a negative for Ryan Garcia. It's actually a double-edged sword. It's a negative and a positive. There's a lot of hurdles that Ryan went through to make this fight happen. He's being drained down to 136 pounds when he normally fights at 140 pounds. It doesn't sound that bad. It's 4 pounds, but that's almost the whole next weight class. I mean, if Tank's fighting at 135, it's not like they met in the middle at 137, 138. You're talking about 1 pound over 135. So Ryan Garcia is essentially moving down to Tank Davis's weight class. And, bro, let's be honest, Ryan Garcia is not a chubby or an overly muscular dude. So I don't know that Ryan Garcia can really afford to cut 4 more pounds off of that frame on top of what he's already cutting to get down to 140. I'm 5'6", and I'm in pretty damn good shape, and I'm probably about 158 pounds right now. I could certainly get down to 147 for a fight, but I feel more comfortable at this weight. Now, I know you can rehydrate after that, and I could probably go back to being into the 150s and feel a lot better than I may have felt when I stepped on that scale. But I'm just trying to make a point that I'm walking around at 158 pounds, 5'6". I'm by no means huge or fat or anything like that. So to have this dude be 5'10" and going down to 140 and now cutting an extra 4 pounds on top of that and going down to 136, you have to be real about the fact that that weight cut could negatively affect Ryan. Another thing that I think on the flip side of that is important, it's important to note how many things this kid gave up to make this fight happen. He didn't want to take a tune-up fight. He didn't want to get some sort of injury or lose or whatever, or maybe even look too good and derail the fight in any type of way. So he was kind of on some shit like, nah, you know what? Okay, cool, I won't get a tune-up fight. It's whatever. I don't need it. Just sign the fight. You want me to meet you at 136? You want me to whatever? Just do it. Just sign the fight right now. I want to fight you. So I think that attitude favors Ryan Garcia, and it shows you that I'm not saying Tank is scared. I'm not saying Tank don't want to fight, but it shows you who really wants to fucking fight. Ryan really, really wants this fight. Again, on the flip side of that, Ryan might want this fight too much. He might be cutting too many corners to make this fight happen. He also has a rehydration clause. So not only are you being weight drained, but you're also not being allowed to go back up to where you want to go back up. So even if Ryan comes in and nails this weight cut and gets down to 136, and then maybe betters his chances of feeling better the next day by going back up to, whatever it is, 140 something. He now has a rehydration clause where he can only gain so much weight back after the weigh-in. So there's a lot of things being thrown at Ryan Garcia here that I don't think are going to help him in the fight. However, like I said, I do think his mentality in accepting these things does show how much he really wants this fight and stuff like that. We'll have to see how deep. I mean, we all could be dead wrong about Ryan Garcia, and I'm not saying that I think he's unwilling to go to deep waters, but I think in this fight we're going to see how deep of waters Ryan is willing to go. I think this is the type of fight where these two dudes are still young. You know what I'm saying? These not guys that are in their mid-30s or something like that. So it's very possible that these two bring out something in the other that we haven't seen before, that we haven't seen somebody cause Tank Davis to do, or we haven't seen somebody force Ryan Garcia to dig this deep. And maybe he does, and maybe he surprises us and surprises Tank or whatever the case is. So I think there's still question marks going into this fight. Yeah, we can place certain question marks on certain people, but they're not knocks on these people. They're more question marks. And I think that this fight could possibly answer a lot of those question marks that we do have going into this fight. Now, I spoke earlier about the physical attributes that Ryan has. He's got the height, he's got the reach, possibly the quicker hands and stuff like that. But I think that when it comes to a lot of other intangible things, I think that most of those favor Tank. I think, experience, footwork, ability to cut the ring and get inside with your head off the line, ability to set traps and create openings, ability to stay calm under pressure and, there's just a lot of things, ring IQ, stuff like that, that I personally feel favor Tank Davis. So, you know, when you look at all the things that I think benefit Tank and you look at all the things that I think benefit Ryan, I do think that the benefits are set there for Tank a lot higher than the benefits of Ryan, especially when you consider the weight drain and the rehydration clause and Ryan not having, a tune-up fight or whatever you want to call it leading into this fight. I do think that there are a lot more things that are in favor of Tank than there are in favor of Ryan. That being said, if Ryan wins this fight, especially if he wins it in spectacular fashion, I mean, how impressive is that going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people, Ryan's the underdog in this fight. Point blank, period. Forget all the things that I just spoke about. Ryan's the underdog in this fight. So if Ryan wins the fight, it's going to be somewhat of a surprise to most people anyway. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there that are picking Garcia, and I'll tell you right now, I'm going to bet on Garcia because he's over a 2-1 favorite. That's not necessarily saying that I think Garcia is going to win this fight, but I think he has a good enough chance that I'm willing to put a small amount of money on a 2.5-1 favorite or whatever it is. I think it was plus 235 or something like that. Whatever it is, it's good enough for me to risk, let's say, $20 on Garcia or whatever like that. As far as the fight itself, listen, man, again, the same way I said I know what I'm getting when I watch Jake Paul versus Tommy Fury, I know what I'm getting when I watch these two guys. I don't expect this bell to ring and a brawl to ensue. I don't think that's going to happen. These are two high-level fighters with a lot of skill, a lot of ring IQ, a lot of talent, stuff like that. So, I do think it'll be a chess match to a certain degree because these guys aren't dumb. Their defense is going to be good. Their footwork is going to be good. Their ring IQ is going to be good. They're not going to just simply fall for every trap that the other one sets every time. I think they're really going to have to work to get this win, whoever does get the win. Now, that kind of leads to a certain fight where I'm not sure how high the level of excitement and action will be as far as how many punches are being thrown, how many people are getting dropped, how many combinations are landed. I don't think it's going to be a firefight like, Hagler Hearns or something like that. I could be wrong. They might come out swinging. That would be fucking great. But I'm just trying to make a point that I understand boxing very well. And for the people that understand boxing very well, I think you're going to enjoy this fight. For your casual fan, it may wind up being a little bit of a letdown, at least until somebody gets dropped or the fight ends. Now, that's the thing that I think makes this fight exciting, is that even though round one may be a little bit boring or uneventful or whatever, again, these dudes are high-level fighters. Understand that even though something might not have happened in that round, pieces are being moved on that chessboard. Things are being set up. And both of these guys can end the fight with one punch. So even if the fight is not as action-packed as some people hope it might be, I still think there's going to be a lot of drama and a lot of excitement watching the fight if you understand boxing, because you're going to see a lot of high-level shit going on, and you know that at any moment that fight could end. Listen, I'll give you my final prediction. Like I said, I'm going to bet on Ryan Garcia because he's a 2-1 underdog. If you have a lot of money to lay, I would say Tank is probably the safe bet to win the fight. I'm picking Tank to win the fight. I think Tank will find a way to stop Ryan late. I'll say around 9 or 10. Some of my Tank predictions on here before have been flawless. I've nailed the round that he scored the knockout and everything. So I really think Tank is a great fighter. Same thing for Ryan, but I think Tank will find a way to stop him late, maybe around 9 or 10. Hope that helps you guys. Peace.